Hello, and welcome to something a little bit different. You may see the very outdated handheld console called the PS Vita in my hands and be like, what on earth are you doing? And like I said, it's going to be something a little different. It's essentially just going to be more of my thoughts, but it's going to be concentrated on one specific thing. Now, what might that one specific thing be, you ask? Well, if you can see the titles, if you can see my menu, you can probably tell what this is going to be about. But first, let's watch the opening. We can dim the lights now. Welcome to a review of Persona 1. I guess review, kind of a critique, more than anything really. So I recently beat this game. I did both paths, totaling about 50 hours total, 30 for one, 20 for the other. If you have never played Persona 1, I'd say play it. If you like Persona, play Persona 1. If you like the modern Persona games, it plays nothing like them, but you'll like the story, I promise you. Oh crap. But if you haven't played it and you want to remain unspoiled for any real part of the story, do yourself a favor, click off now. Because I'm just gonna go at random for the most part, aside from like what I want to talk about concerning the gameplay, because story is kind of all of this game. But I mean, if you haven't clicked off now, sorry. But I'm just gonna kind of go into my thoughts about the whole experience. Because for the most part, I had fun, but I have some grievances, I guess you would say. But I'm gonna divulge how I played this game for like just complete and total transparency. This is the PSP version of Persona 1, meaning that and because it's on official hardware, because I bought this off the PSN store on the PS Vita for $20, which is kind of the only way you can actually buy this game now in like the modern age, because nothing else has it. Atlas, port your games, please. This is the PSP version of Persona 1. It has a completely different soundtrack from the original PlayStation 1 release of Persona 1. The UI is also completely different. And this has a better translation and just overall localization than the original Persona 1 PlayStation 1 release in the West. It includes both stories. And I think that's like it. There's like new cutscenes and they're all like CG for some reason. I don't get it. Everything else is very hand-drawn and looks nice. But I guess that's just keeping up the PlayStation 1 kind of deal. But I'm gonna go ahead and just go into one of my save files, and we're gonna probably just kind of grind while I talk for the most part, because most of my problems have nothing to do with the story. Now, full disclosure, I played this game on beginner. Does that mean I'm a little sissy baby? A little bit, kinda. But I will say that I tried playing this game on normal twice and dropped it both times. So take that how you will. And again, you could say that my criticisms don't mean anything if I haven't at least tried it playing it on normal, but I have. So we're just gonna deflect that criticism, I suppose. It doesn't really matter too much, because I was playing this game for the story anyway. I'm playing Persona 2 Innocent Sin right now, and don't worry, I'm playing that on normal. But I just didn't want to drop this game again, because I really wanted to experience the story so that I had like full context for Persona 2. Yeah, sure. Let's go into this one. So, we are in the last dungeon here of Vija World. If you have not played this game and want to play this game or learn about its story naturally, click off now. You should have clicked off a while ago, but I'm about to divulge some stuff. So this is the final dungeon of the Seaback route of the game. This is basically like the deepest, darkest depths of Maki's mind, which is really cool, and I love how it's basically just kind of like a messed up school, because this is the school building. It's just been tarnished by Pandora's influence. So again, I have no real problems with the story, and I'll probably divulge that on like a menu or something later. What I actually would like to get into is what we're gonna get into right now. Oh, wow, even better. Welcome to the battle system of Persona 1. We're probably gonna skip over this battle so that we have a more natural explanation and not being ambushed from behind. But you're gonna see how just weird this game is. I'm just gonna make this go quickly. Again, I did play this game on beginner, so it is technically easier. But in all honesty, don't care. So let's try and get in a better normal battle. Perfect. Okay. So we will turn down the music in a little bit. I would like you to just hear it, because this is what you hear all of the time. Okay, so I guess we'll comment on the music first. Most of the music in this game is actually perfectly fine. Again, it is different from the PS1 version, which, in my opinion, does fit the scenario, that everything just way better. But the music in this game is fine. It's not bad. It's totally okay. But this grates. It grates on my ears at some point, because I've just heard it so much. And it doesn't pause or anything with the lyrics. There's no second verse, there's no drum break or anything. It just kind of goes. And that's the repeat. Yep. Okay. So we're going to turn this down before I go insane. And let's just kind of get into what on earth everything here means. So, as you can see, our party consists of 5 people. This is consistent across both storylines, not the actual characters themselves, but the fact that you have 5 party members and not 4 if you're used to modern Persona games. And then you have all of these options, and none of them are just attack. So the combat in this game is fully turn-based. If you don't know what that means, think Final Fantasy 1 combat. You choose your move you choose all your moves beforehand, and then you let the scene play out. You could also just think Pokemon, because that is also technically completely turn-based combat. So if you've ever played something like Pokemon, which a lot of people have, Scarlet and Violet sold almost 30 million units after all. But that's essentially what Pokemon's combat is, and this is similar. We'll call it similar. So we have a couple of options here. We have fight, contact, analyze, form, which is short for formation, auto, and escape. Escape is very obvious. We'll get into fight in a sec. Contact is something that's been carried over from the parent series, Shin Megami Tensei. It allows you to talk with the demons, to befriend them and get them on your side, kind of. It's a little funky in this game, and we'll get into it, because that's going to be its own little section. We have Analyze, which just kind of lets you view their stats, kind of. Not really. Oh yeah, no, it does. You just have to switch the info. I never actually looked at this. But, yeah, it just shows you what the enemy stats are, what its attacks are. If you've ever pressed L in Persona 3 Reload and you had Fuuka look at an enemy, you know what that is all about. This is Formation, and we'll get into that in a second. And this is Auto Battle, the godsend of this game, and the only reason I could ever get through it. So, let's just get into fight. So, when you click the fight option, you are taken to one of your characters, which can do a boatload of things. You can attack with your melee weapon, and as you can see, they all have range, which makes formation of your team important. You're going to see why I am kind of slowing this down, because the game explains nothing to you, nothing at all. Like, this makes me envy a Persona 5 long tutorial, because nothing in this game is ever explained. Like, in Persona 2, at the very least, they say, hey, we're gonna offer you a tutorial about how to negotiate with demons, just so that you're not, like, just hobbling around with terrible personas. But this game does not. But we're focused on the fight aspect right now, and it might look similar if you've already played any of the modern Persona games, but again, we have attack, which has range. This is using your melee weapon. Now you hear the main character uses a sword. You can shoot the enemy, because every character has a firearm, just like in Persona 5, kind of. And this also has range. Naoya is just special in that his can hit all of them at this placement. You're gonna see why I keep on saying this when we get to formation, because I'm gonna get really mad. We have skill, which allows you to use your persona's abilities. Now, your persona is very different from how it works in modern Persona games. So in modern Persona games, your stats are tied to your persona. This includes the main character, where his stats depend on the persona that is equipped to him. In this game, that is not the case. Everyone has their own individual stats that are tied to themselves, and their personas, everyone can equip multiple personas. 3 per. 3 per. At the moment, I have Naoya's ultimate persona equipped to him, and everyone else should have their ultimate personas equipped to them. And you can see SP cost here and how it doesn't change. That's because the SP cost is based on the persona. This is essentially what it is. It's just kind of giving you the magic skills that you're gonna use throughout the game. And to get more skills, you do not level up your personas, which you still can do for some reason. You rank them up. And in order to rank them up, you have to use your persona's skills. So if you use more skills, you get more skills. And you can literally just spam one skill and you'll get all of your skills eventually. The max rank is 8, where you'll get their final ability, which could be great and could be dog. But you know. Then we have Persona, and this is how you would switch personas, just like in the modern Persona games. But you can only have 3 equipped at a time, and your max holding amount is 12. So he has 3 on him, and they all have 3 on them, and I still have about and then I have about 8 in reserve, which means I have 4 more slots available total. Now, how do you get personas in this game? You talk to demons and get them to give you their skill cards, but we'll get there. And then we have item. What do you think? Just standard stuff. HP restore HP, revive, cure, ailments. Ailments suck in this game. Oh my god, they're terrible. Reflects, SP restoration, items that do damage, standard stuff for Persona. And finally, guard. You sit there and you take less damage. All 5 characters can do this, and we'll go ahead and just choose out the skills how they normally would, and we'll turn off the skip button. You might have noticed the little skip thing here. That's because that's essentially it skips all the animations, and it skips the animations and makes just fights go quicker. You'll see why I have that turned on in a second. So you can see that each skill has range. If you're familiar with how they work in modern Persona, you'll see Agilao and be like, oh, that only targets 1, and you'd be correct. And then you see Miragidan, and you're like, oh, that targets them all, and that'd be correct as well. It says it up here, but you should know for the most part. But then you have Agidyne, and you're like, oh, that only hits 1. No, it has an area of effect. What? And then you see these 2, and you're like, well, those must be special moves. No, a couple people have it, and they have different ranges. You see why range and how I'm talking about formation becomes a real pain in the neck after a little while. So we'll choose this for you. This is Maki. She's the main character that's not the main character. All of the problems that are affecting everyone are kind of because of her. We'll use this skill. This is Nanjo. He's the brains. We'll use Makoha. This is Mark. He's the doofus. We use Earthly Black. Will we use Earthly Black? We'll use Zondyne. And then we'll use Maeha. Sure. Is this alright? Thank God for that. So that's his Ultimate Persona Mott. And as you can see, the animation's playing out. And you saw a week there, and they didn't topple over. That's because they don't do that in this game. It does not operate on the One More system, which kind of sucks. Because in all honesty, I really like the One More system because it works well. So as you can see, I can't really affect what's happening in the moment. And that was one turn. Now I could just go through and select everything again, and that takes like 5 years. And trust me, when you do this a bunch of times, that adds up. Or I can go to auto. Now for this particular enemy, he's actually immune to just about every magic skill. So we're gonna probably choose weapons here. Okay, so replay just replays the actions that you've already done. Essentially, it's just a quick repeat all of your actions that you just did. Weapons will make them all attack with their weapons. Guns will make them all attack with their guns. Auto act is set actions. And as you can see, it's just like always manually enter commands and stuff like that. It's like a quick kind of thing. I'm going to use weapons because that is the most effective way to kill this thing. Yep, there it goes. That's your results screen. Yes, your personas can level up, but that doesn't do anything. We're going to use Mediarama just to heal everybody up. And we're going to get into another battle to show off the contact system. So let's contact an enemy. Let's get rid of this Kotobupa. So we already have Kotobupa's skill card, and it'll show a little gold skill card mark here if you already have it. And if you talk to them, they'll just go away. Sometimes they'll give you something afterwards, but here's where the contact system comes into play. So as you can see, it has traits. This one's wise, forceful, and haughty. They can have up to 4 at a time. Yes, 4 at a time. Each of these combinations have different things that they like and dislike. We'll get into it here. And as you can see, as we hover over each of our characters here, they all have different things that they can do to try and make the demon go, aha, you're pretty cool. How do you know which one will work against it? Trial and error. So, as you can, if you can see that, his anger meter just went up by me inviting him. So we have 4 things here. Let's just get it closer to the camera. We have eager. This is what you want to get up primarily. This will give you a skill card, not a new persona, a skill card. But we want skill cards. That is our main focus here, and that's what we want to get. We have scared. This will make them just kind of go away. We have angry, which is very bad, and you don't want them to get angry. And happy, which if you get happy and eager up in tandem, you can not only get a skill card, but also something useful. Your goal, again, is to try and please them to make them eager to give you their skill card. And again, how do you do that? Try, and try again. Let's try some sarcasm from Nanjo here. Oh, no, he doesn't like that either. Would you like to be pontificated? Ah, he likes that. He likes being happy. You're right, yes. Oh, I made him eager. Sometimes they ask you questions, and if you answer right, they'll become like eager or happy. If you don't, they'll be sad or angry. Let's try and pontificate again. Alright, he's happy again. And yeah, you just kind of do that until they like you enough. See, now he's mad again. What do you want? And then, yeah, sometimes they'll ask you for something. And would you look at that? He's gotten his eagerness up again. Let's pontificate, because he liked that before, and we're just going to do that again. And we got it happy and eager. Eager, happy. And you can ask him to compensate you, which will he'll just give you an item. Leave my sight, they'll make him go away. Or, what you actually want, a spell card. And because I got happiness up, he also gives me something. And sometimes it's EXP, sometimes it's a good item. Just whatever it is, very helpful. And that is our fusion material. So it is a guessing game. And, you know, that's not particularly bad. I mean, in Persona 3 onwards, you still have a guessing game in the One More system. But when you analyze an enemy, you learn their weaknesses, and they'll stay that way, so you won't have to guess every time. This does not have that. And the negotiation system is much different from, say, Persona 5's, which is fairly simple, but it's really effective. They ask you 2 questions, and if you answer them right, they'll join your squad. Simple, right? Apparently not with this one, but for this one, no. And also, they only have 1 trait in Persona 5. Here, they can have up to 4 at a time, just like I said. So let's just, get into a bunch of battles, because this is kind of the gameplay loop. Because you'll be running around, you'll get into a random encounter, and your best bet is just to do the random encounter. There's no real use in trying to escape or avoid them. Just either beat them up or talk to them and try to get them to give you their skill card, or just go away. You can turn off auto by pressing the circle button here. And as you can see, if you don't turn on that speed up button, this takes 5 years. So we're going to press it. It's start. And boom, it's a speed up button. It gets rid of some animations. It's super helpful. And it got me through this game for sure. And you are going to get underleveled very quickly. And you're not going to like it. It's not going to be fun. And you're going to grind. And this is essentially, if you find one of these floors on a dungeon, we'll get to the dungeon design in a bit, actually. Then you'll have an opportunity to kind of just sit there and grind. And you get to hear this every single time. Try listening to this song called A Lone Prayer for 30 minutes on end. Or it just restarts on end. Yeah, there's a reason why I say that I go insane over this song, because it's a little annoying after grinding for so long. But this is essentially your big gameplay loop. Is you go into a dungeon, you run around, get lost, because you're gonna get lost. It's a guarantee. It's the Persona 1 guarantee. You're getting lost. And grind. And once you get up to a high enough level, which, by the way, in order to contact demons and get their skill card, your average level of your party must equal or be greater than that demon's level, which you can see when you contact them. I'll go into another battle and look at the contact system for a little bit. Yeah, you can see their level whenever you try to talk to them. I'm way above all of their levels because I sat here and just grinded for hours. I think 10 hours of this game was roughly dedicated to grinding. Just till I could fuse my ultimate personas. Now, that could just be because I was on beginner, so I got less EXP than when I should have, but, like, man, I don't know. So let's get into formation, and your best bet is to just kind of do this here. This is the, oh, by the way, let's show off the main menu. This is use skills. This is mostly for, say, Triestos for leaving a dungeon, and then just healing anything that healing your wounds, healing your ailments, and stuff like that. Items, same deal, but you can also view your equipment that you haven't equipped. Your skill cards, your fusion material, and your way of kind of changing what you fuse. These are essentially your way to kind of trigger fusion accidents. Or not necessarily trigger fusion accidents, but intentionally fuse something else than what you'd normally be summoning. This is your equipment. And as you can see, there's a lot of equipment. You have your weapon, your gun, and the shells that you use, which all contribute to your attack stat. And then you have your head, body, arms, and legs guards, and that all contributes to your defense. Everyone uses their own separate weapon in this game, and there are 9 party members, but you can only have 5 at a time, and once you get those 5, you're stuck with them for the rest of the game. You can just kind of do an optimal one, or you can go in and do this manually. Your personas. Here you can swap out. You can swap around the persona you have equipped to make sure that you have the right persona for the right job. And yes, I do have 7 million yen. That's from all the grinding. Status. This is where you view your status. Fairly simple. You can view your stats. You can look at their condition, their level, EXP that you need, and just all of that. Boom, 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 boom. And system. This is how you would load your data and change the message speed. This is how you change movement in sub areas, because you're not just first person all the time. You have little sub areas that are third person, and they're isometric, which I've honestly never really liked isometric. It feels weird to me. So like playing like Super Mario RPG, like that felt weird using a D-pad with. But thankfully it'll be good on Switch. I haven't played too much of it yet, because I've been busy playing Persona and Pokemon and stuff like that. But once I get to it, I'm gonna probably have a much better time with it than on the SNES, just because the isometric view is gonna feel better with a joystick. But let's go into battle, because this is the formation system. You can also set your auto settings and use some demon data. Boom. Look at this. Look at all of it. God, Jesus. But as you can see, I have a few little formations here. But what are they? What's the point of it all? You know, what's the point? Well, if we edit it, we can move around our characters, and as you can see their weapon range, you can see their gun range, and as I said before, do you remember how I said that now you can hit everything in this range? Well, if you put him down here, suddenly he can only hit the front row. And suddenly formation becomes a big part of how you're going to deal with everything, because look at Maki. She can only hit things in the far row, but then once you bring her down here, suddenly she can hit everything with her weapon. But she can't hit anything with her gun there, so you'd want to swap her up here if you're going to use her gun. And then Nanjo has this much, but then if you put him back here, he can't do anything. And same with most of the physical characters. Reiji can't do anything, even outside of the front row, unless he's using his gun, in which case he's perfectly fine to be in the back row. But that depends on you using your gun all the time, and his personas are mostly physical oriented. You see why there's too much complexity here. And of course, you know, some people will be like, oh, but the complexity is the fun part about it. And if you enjoy convoluted complexity that you are not told anything about, sure, go at it, have fun. And I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just going to say that I don't like it. Personally, it does not help that there are so many things that the game just doesn't tell you about at all, ever. There's like small little mentions from like NPCs, and well, of course, you know, this is an old RPG, so you know, you're always told like, oh, you should talk to every NPC because it's old and most of the storytelling will be done through talking to people rather than cutscenes. And you're right, but even then they barely offer any advice, and it's just, it doesn't help. Now, we are in a dungeon. Actually, you know what? Before we cover dungeons, I'm just gonna, because like, okay, let's try and escape. Let's see if it actually works. Nope. That's why you don't try and escape, because it'll just arbitrarily say you can't. Screw you, and then you get attacked. So just do yourself a favor. Just just go through the battle, whether you're using a contact, whether you decide to negotiate or kill them. It doesn't really matter. Just as long as they go away. And also, if you run, your replay action will turn into all guard, which is so annoying. Boom, boom, boom. So, now we get into Persona Fusion, because the Velvet Room's right here. So you have two options here. I just wanted to play a little bit of the poem. It's not as good as it was in the original PSX release, because Velvet Room from Persona 1 on the PSX is fire. Oh my goodness. This is just a watered down version of the one you hear in Persona 3 Onward, which is a little sad, but it's okay. So you have basically two options. Talk is basically your tutorials about personas, taking up personas, persona orders, growth, affinity, hidden potential, spell cards, faces of the moon, items and fusion, totems and fusion, basics of fusion, types of fusion. There's so much so there are tutorials, but you look at all of this. No normal person is going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to read all of this. No single person. But it is pretty simple when you get down to it. It basically functions the exact same way that it really does in all Persona games. You have manual fusion, and there's just two. You can only fuse two at a time in this game. But you have manual fusion. You just kind of pick two and see what they give you. Like, that'll create Anubis. We'll get to the adding an item in a second. Yes, I do already have that persona. And then you also have guided fusion, which can tell you what you can fuse with the skill cards that you have, not your personas, your skill cards. And there's also the affinity system. Each character has an affinity with certain arcanas. As you can see, Naoya has a best with the world, but I'm pretty sure best... No, it's not actually. But Naoya, I believe, has best with things like the moon, the world, the emperor, which is his base arcana, and I think a couple others. Maki has best with temperance, sun, priestess, which is her base. I believe she also has lovers. Yes. And they all have different affinities because of their base arcana. So you want to pick one that's not the worst, because that would be bad. Using one that's like good affinity is okay, but you'll get the most out of ones that you have the best affinity with. Same with bad. Now let's say I were to fuse Lakshmi, and then we're gonna add an item. So all of your items actually do something a little different. So most of these will just give a random effect, and also and any of the ones that are like that actually do something in battle that are like the equivalent of a move, they'll teach that skill to the persona. Like Bufudine Stone will teach the skill Bufudine to the persona that you're going to fuse. Equipment will give them boosts in stats. Cards can't do anything, but these are how you change the persona that you're going to fuse. So right now it's Lakshmi. I don't know if I have anything. Okay, I do. So now it's Usas because I have the garnet shown. Same with the topaz. That's how see how it's change persona within order. You can change which persona you're gonna get. Then we have totems, which are similar, except you get specific personas with these, and some of those specific personas are like very important things, like your ultimate personas and stuff like that. And it's very similar to how Persona Fusion works in the normal games, but you can't fuse your personas to make new personas. You just kind of keep them until you max out, and then I believe you can give some back to Igor. And this is how you view the ones that you have on you. And as you can see, I have quite a few. You have 16 max stock. And it's a pretty good system. In all honesty, I would not mind seeing it like returning in some form or fashion. I love the wild card, but this is cool too. I like the idea behind this. It is much simpler with just one wildcard guy, and then the rest are tied to their own singular persona. But hey, it wouldn't be bad to have just a little bit more complexity. Not too much like this game, though. So, oh, hang on, we got in a battle. Yeah, see, this is what happens, man. This is this video game. This is it. Okay, so let's look at the dungeon design, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't like it. There's so many corners and just dead ends, and just everything is just meant to throw you off and put you in more random battles, which will mean more headache, more time spent doing basically nothing, sitting there doing random battles, listening to a lone prayer. God, I wish we had battle. So one of the problems with this version specifically is that there's no way to swap the soundtracks. You cannot hear the original PSX soundtrack in this version. You can in Persona 2, both of the games. You can switch between the remixed tracks and the original tracks. This one you can't do that. And the reason why Persona 2 can do that is because they got backlash from this game not having that. So, yeah. But, and then dungeons, specifically in this route, Snow Queen, it's a bit better. But in Seavek, everything is just so long, confusing. You get lost so easily. You're not exactly sure where you should go at any point in time. Like, palaces? Oh, perfect. Great dungeons. And sure, they're linear and you can figure out where to go fairly easily. They look cool, they're functional, and then there's a good amount of, like, battles. You don't have to fight everything. Everything feels good to play. Whereas here, you're just kind of going through and praying you find the right way. Now, they do usually have things like checkpoints. They'll have an Agastya tree. By the way, you cannot save in a dungeon, or really, the only time you can save is with an Agastya tree. And that's it. So if you find an Agastya tree, or you find a room, check it and see if it's an Agastya tree so that you don't lose all your progress, because you can die real easily in this game by the enemies just saying you lose and using some kind of insta-kill move or something. Who knows? If you haven't noticed, this thing sometimes swaps the phases of the moon. Why does it do that? Apparently, it gives certain effects to certain persona skills and demon skills and demon moods and stuff like that. It affects all kinds of things, apparently. Um, I really couldn't notice it throughout my playthrough. But it does affect certain things, and it's just another weird layer of complexity that really doesn't need to be there. Yeah, see, I've already gotten lost, see? And we're back to this. Okay, we're gonna save. So we're gonna get out of this save file and go into the Snow Queen save file, and we'll talk about Seebeck, why not? So the Seebeck quest is very good. The actual story of Persona 1 is a really, really good story. It explores so much about like how just one human mind can view the world in so many different ways. And just like the way that it just portrays like how like, you know, like the id and ego and stuff like that, just all kinds of like just little things that just stand out. I told my friends that it kind of felt like a mini Persona 4, but in reality, it was more like they took the Persona 4 concept of having a cognitive world where your shadow is in control and just made it 10 times better, in all honesty, because there's so much more expansion. Everything just has a purpose. And it's not just one shadow, because we view ourselves in so many different ways. Like, for instance, this Maki right here that we have in our party is the ideal Maki. This is who Maki would like to be if she were not deathly ill, which is what she is in reality. In fact, where we are at present is simply an idealized world that Maki has made up in her mind. This is like her dream. And things like police stations and hospitals don't exist because no one gets hurt or sick. No one commits crimes because this is a perfect world in Maki's eyes. However, Kandori, the guy who runs Seebeck, takes advantage of this and tries to use Maki's kind of already pretty fragile mind for his own desires, which makes the influence of Maki's id, like her want to like hurt, and her jealousy, her just all of her like pent up frustrations and problems that she's faced, you know, because she's deathly ill. She can't go and have fun with her friends. She can't see people all the time. She can't go to school. And so that portion of her kind of splits off, kind of like a shadow, and becomes its own kind of separate entity within Maki's mind, and kind of poisoning her mind. And Kandori takes this. He doesn't take it. He tames this, essentially. He makes it his kind of like his little pet project. Makes that side of her trust him, and hooks her up to the Diva system, which is how they kind of turn the real world. They give that monsters. That's how demons appear in the real world, is with the Diva system. And it connects right to the inside of Maki's mind. I don't know if I'm explaining this completely properly, because it's a very complex story, and it's kind of hard to just understand if you're not just gonna like play the game. But it's just it's a super interesting look at just the mind of one person, and just how varied and incredibly different every single part of ourselves is. And what we necessarily consider ourself may only be one aspect of ourselves. It's a pretty good look at humanity in general. I won't get too much more into it because we're gonna go ahead and take a look at my Snow Queen file. So this one's a bit more incomplete because as you can see, my protagonist is not level 70. That's because I was so tired and I just didn't want to grind more. And I beat this with only 2 party members being alive and them just kind of stabbing the Snow Queen to death. So these are the other characters. I didn't really explain them all. They're all pretty cool, and a lot of them appear in Persona 2, so you feel very rewarded. Like, just about every named character with a profile, with a picture, like a profile picture like this, appears in Persona 2, and you feel very rewarded for having played this game first, because now you have an idea of who these people are and how the inside of their minds work. Now, of course, this is a story in 2 parts, which means more grinding. That's all it means, really. The Snow Queen quests, I actually have fewer complaints with, simply because of how kind of compact it is. Everything takes place inside the school that's had been turned into basically one big dungeon. And each dungeon is timed, which means that every dungeon has to be short and concise so that the player doesn't feel overwhelmed by a huge maze and labyrinth. And it really helps the pace of the game. And look at that, Brown died. Brown died so much in my playthrough. Oh my god, it's absurd. But it's very it's much more compact, which helps with the pace, in my opinion. The only problem is that you're still gonna be underleveled no matter what you do. It's just gonna happen, and you're just gonna feel bad. Also, fun thing to note about this game is that when a character dies in battle and you get out of battle, they'll just be awake. You don't have to use a revival bead, and they'll just be back at 1 HP. So if someone dies, it's better not to waste a revival bead unless you're in a boss fight. So yeah, dungeon design is much more focused. I think that's the word, is that it's much more focused. So there's not much dawdling. You don't feel lost. You don't feel very lost at any point in time. And it's honestly just more enjoyable. This route is much more enjoyable just because it's concise, it's clear. The only problem is that you're probably going to be underleveled in the late game, but that's in both routes, and you're just going to have to grind and deal with it and be sad. Now, what's different in this route? Well, it's not an exploration of Maki's mind, that's for darn sure. So basically, if you choose not to leave the school building and then dawdle around and then find out about the Snow Queen mask and then grab it like you're told not to do, and then you show it to Miss Sayako, the only person who hasn't been killed by the Snow Queen mask, because apparently it has a curse that kills anyone who puts it on, or at least curses them, and then suddenly it takes her over, and then she becomes the Snow Queen, and then she turns the whole entire school into an ice castle. And by the way, let's jam out to the fun fact, this is actually one of the few songs in this game that technically came from the original Persona 1 PSX release, because this is essentially just kind of a remixed version of the Ice Castle theme from there, which is also very fire. we'll get to the music in a sec. Just the overall music. And we're going to be reviewing this version's music and not necessarily the PSX version. But if I know about certain PSX version things, I'm going to bring them up. But for now, let's get back to Snow Queen Quest's story. And yes, this is just going to be kind of the background while I move my hands and kind of tell you about what I'm feeling about the game and whatnot. But this route is much more focused on the people who put on the mask before. And they all had some kind of problem. I believe the first girl had a kind of like a... She had a very similar problem to me. I felt a bit more connected to her problem because she had a lot of expectation on her shoulders. Because her parents would constantly be like, you have to have good grades, stop doing theater because that's messing with your grades. But then the people in theater are getting mad at her for focusing on her grades and not focusing on theater. And it's just, and she doesn't really know what to say. So she just kind of goes into her land of dreams, and suddenly that just becomes like her little paradise and her form of escape from the world that she thinks is oppressing her. In reality, she probably should have been more upfront. And that's what the characters do to her, while also just being so mean. They're so mean in this route. Every single one of these people just has it out for just every single person we come across. And they're all just so mean. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not right, of course. Because if you're more upfront about your feelings and stuff like that, you should be able to convince both your parents, and you should be able to get through this if you actually communicate with people. And she did not try to actually communicate. The second girl is a very haughty rich lady who is full of herself and is bullied because she did what like stereotypical rich people do in like movies, which is use her wealth to make her look better than she actually is. And moral of the story on that one was just don't do that. And yeah, you're right. No way. And then the third girl straight up dies. She gets so sick of like just like the fake people around her, and she herself gets so abhorrently just like downtrodden and depressed that she wishes for death, which is a very touchy subject, obviously. And she gets her wish granted by the Snow Queen Mash, aka she gets killed by the Snow Queen. And she says that, wow, this is so freeing. Everyone should do this. Sounds similar to the Fall, right? Well, funnily enough, her persona is Thanatos. Very funny. Spoilers for Persona 3, sorry if you weren't expecting that here, but I did play Persona 3 before. But yeah, just very, very interesting. How much Thanatos Tower and that girl and her persona Thanatos kind of all relate to the stuff in Persona 3. It's very interesting, and I like it a lot. Once you finally get through all of those, you can finally fight the Snow Queen, because you'll hopefully have collected enough mirror shards to not get the bad ending. And then you fight the Snow Queen, and then it suddenly turns out that the Snow Queen's ghost, the Snow Queen is actually the ghost of Miss Sayako's best friend when she was little, and she just got kind of jealous of Miss Sayako for not getting the lead role. She doesn't talk it out with Miss Sayako. She just believes some rumors from some people in the drama club that are like, Well, actually, Sayako kind of let you get the lead role. She just kind of gave it up, and instead of being a good friend and talking it out, say, "Hey, did this happen? No, this didn't happen. Okay, I believe you." She was just like, "Nope, this is all your fault." And then she puts on the Snow Queen mask and gets burned, and then she possesses the Snow Queen mask as the final person who gets possessed by it. And then once you beat her, you show her the mirror shards. You show her the mirror that you've been piecing back together to get her out of there. And then suddenly her persona funny thing about this game is that a lot of the main villains that you'll fight, like a lot of the mini bosses and stuff like that, they're all Persona users, which is very rare in modern Persona nowadays. You have like Strega in Persona 3, you have spoilers I guess spoilers for the rest of modern Persona, whoopsies. You have Adachi in Persona 4, and you have Maruki in Persona 5. But here, they're just everywhere. It's not a rare occurrence. It's like all of the time. Which makes sense. And then, but anyway, her persona, the Night Queen, goes berserk. And basically kind of becomes her shadow. Whoa. And it goes berserk and says and wants to make the world go away. It wants to cause an endless night, aka it wants to cause the fall, essentially. Like, it is said that endless night will come so long once you beat them, like final boss. It says, well, that endless night will come so long as people have wished for it. That ties directly into Persona 3, which is super cool and awesome. But instead of it being the Night Queen or the Snow Queen, whatever you want to call her, yeah, sure, let's answer. Rice crackers. Nope. Yeah, sure, just... Yeah, I don't really care. Yeah, just leave. Okay. But then, for some odd reason, the Seebeck Quest characters, Kandori, Evil Maki, and then Mai and Aki, who are pieces of Maki's personality, all kind of converge on the castle, and then they all kind of make their powers go up. They make the queen more powerful, and then it's kind of like an impromptu, like, oh, maybe this could be more effective than what I'm already trying to do, and it's not, because you beat them. That's kind of the story. I didn't do a very good job at explaining it, I know. If you want to see a good explanation on that, go watch the Persona 1 recap video by a content creator named Courtney. She's great at what she does. I think they are great. We're gonna go with there because I don't exactly know what they identify as. They present feminine, so I went with feminine, but who knows? It's fine. But they have a great recap video. It's incredible. They do a very good job breaking down each and every little detail. But here, I'm just explaining my thoughts. It's a bit less, oh, wait, they're doing that thing where they all die. Great. Oh my god. Yeah, this is what can happen sometimes. Hell Eyes is an insta-kill move that hits like 90% of the time for some reason. And it's just not great. It's not great, man. But it's a lot more focused. The main characters are a bit less involved in everything, except for Yukino, who has a good relationship with Miss Sayako. And then, yeah, I like the gameplay overall, which makes me enjoy the story more. I like the gameplay here better than the Seebeck Quest. So finally, let's talk about the music, and then I'll get out of your hair. I've been here for an hour, Jesus. The music's fine. Again, it's fine. It's not terrible. It does the job. It does not fit as well as the original PSX release stuff. Like, for instance, the opening movie, Dream of a Butterfly, doesn't exist. It was a very still image with a poem on it, and it relates to the themes of the game, and it's very introspective, and you have to think. It makes you think. This one is just, haha, funny anime opening, which is still banger, but, it's not as impactful as that other opening. The overworld theme is, I'm going to be honest, I don't like it that much. It's not very fun. I don't enjoy it as much as the one that I've heard in the PlayStation 1 version. The battle theme, I've already said how much I can't stand it. It's a good theme, I can't stand it anymore. The original battle theme is much better. Bam, 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 bam. I can't really do it myself. I'd have to pull up a video or something, but I don't have much technology around me, so I can't really just go access it. There's a lot of there are quite a few themes that actually carry over, such as the Persona theme, the song called Persona, which is the bad ending theme, and it more so revolves around failure and the villains winning, which is very interesting that the song called Persona has to do more with failure rather than accomplishment. I think we'll go back to the title screen and just kind of vibe on there for a little while we talk about the music. The end credits theme is called Voice. They did a remix of it in Persona 3 Dancing, and it's good. It's okay. Persona's better. And Persona did get to shine here because it was in the original PSX release, and they decided to redo it for this game, and it sounds wonderful. Let's see, any other standout ones there's a lot of dungeon themes. There's a couple of them that very closely related to Kandori and Maki's Inner Darkness, which carry that Persona leitmotif. That. School Days is good. School Days is very fun and exciting, and it fits the vibe of the school. Does the original PSX version fit the vibe better? Kinda, but at the same time, it's just the school, and it's fun, and I enjoy it. School Days is a good one. A lot of the dungeon themes are nice, but you never get to hear them because a lone player blasts your ears with a guitar every 5 seconds. The boss battle theme, Bloody Destiny, is way better, has more breaks in between, it's much more of a vibe, which is better for long battles, obviously. So, yeah, just way better. And the final boss themes are also very good as well. It's a mixed bag, unfortunately. And if I allowed myself to not play this legitimately, aka on official hardware from an official source, I would have probably used the Persona Music Restoration mod. But I will not do that because I bought this game specifically so that I'd feel the urge to actually play it. And I did. And I had fun. For the most part, I did have fun. And I'm not going to say that I didn't have fun, because I did. The story is incredible. The story really is incredible, at least for Stiebeck. It's a very, very good introspective look into the human heart and the human mind, and it's just very interesting. And like, honestly, the story itself is worth playing this game for. You can play it on beginner. I don't care. I did. Just to see the story. And you're going to feel so rewarded when you see all of these different characters and stuff like that. And locations in Persona 2 when you play that duology. I think I'm going to cut off here because we've been recording for an hour and 10 minutes. So who knows how many people are going to make it to the end of this. But hey, if you made it here, thanks a bunch. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. I hope you found this useful if you plan to play this game. Even though I kind of did just spoil the entire thing. Or if you've already played it, maybe you've reaffirmed or disagree with my thoughts. Doesn't really matter. If you disagree, comment it. Just helps. Who cares? You know, just have some fun, have some healthy discourse. Please don't just argue if in the comments about like the soundtrack and stuff like that. Like, I think it's fine. It's okay. It's fine. Yes, I understand that the PSX version has a much better soundtrack, and that's okay. Yeah, just if you are gonna like. If you are going to comment something, don't bicker. Make it a respectful discussion. Because this game is a bit controversial. Not necessarily because of its contents or anything, but because of how it's been localized. Not necessarily the localization itself, but just like the way that they decided to bring this game over to the West is just a little funky. Again, if you enjoyed, cool, awesome, thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time where hopefully I'll get back on track, but I'm just gonna probably play more Persona.